so hello guys. We did a pattern in layers, and so I'm going to show how to do it in with ink and with some color pencils. So we're going to start with a couple of pens, black pens, and one red pen, and a few color pencils that are going to be maybe pink, orange, peach, some green, some pink, a little brown, and maybe a touch of blue or so. Let's see. Let's have a few of them. And an eraser, pencil, compass, a paper stump. Paper stump is something that we really need. So we have done the drawing already. I'm going to do the inking part of it and then the coloring part of it so that we can go a bit, faster. So what we did was we took a 7 centimeter or so radius with the compass, and we went about making the circle, okay, round. So that was the circle, and then we made a little circle around it. That was like the pearl, okay, and around it I have one more circle. And from here, I'm dividing the space clockwise into 3 directions. So the first one was something like this. The second one was this. And the third one was this. It turned out a little small, but it's okay. I'm going to have a slightly bigger one next to it. Now, each of these have got a few accompaniments. So these are those accompanying little branches. So I'm just adding a little curve to the end of each of these, which gives it a kind of a natural, organic feel. So all of them have this. I'm also going to build within the space to kind of fill in the gaps. That's because I'm going to do an outline for all of them. And so we have a few of these. You can disperse them the way you want. There's no hard and fast rule. Do any way you want. So I have some which are on a thin stalk, and we've got this. And some of them are just like leaves, like this. Okay? Some of them are just like this. So I think I've done about all of them. Yeah, like this. I hope my hand doesn't. Okay, so now each one of them are going to get little outlines like this. If I'm slow, if I'm too fast, please stop, pause, and watch. If I'm too slow, you can speed up the video. You have those 3 dots on the right side, lower right side or upper right side of your video screen. If you don't know this already, and then it has the speed, playing speed of the video. So usually it's normal. You can speed it up to 2 times the speed. You could also reduce the speed and watch it at lesser than the normal speed. Right. So now I've done the first layer. Okay. Then I'm going to have this go clockwise. So now the second layer is going to be anti-clockwise, almost touching the border. So it's, since I already have the background, it's easier for me to just go around it. I wanted to do it, I could have done it with the other pen too. Okay, so now I'm having a few of these little leaf-like patterns. And I'm going to also give them each an outline so that when I shade in these areas, you know, inside. I don't really touch the figure. Don't ask me why, because I don't know really. It just is a feeling of not touching the, you give a kind of a little gap, a little breathing space between the object and the space that you are. So I'd like to do, if I take up one pattern, I would like to finish that pattern all across and then come to the next design. I'm also adding a little line and a dot, or a big dash and a small dash. Each of these. I'm going to try using a brush pen. I don't know what kind of an effect I will get, but this paper is, I'm going to try it. So this is a waterproof ink. It's an archival ink, and therefore it's fade proof and waterproof. So I'm using this. Now I'm going to add a few of these shapes here. Okay, that's the way I want to do it. So some are big and some are small towards the end. So I start with medium, go to big ones, and then diminish the size till I come here. And I kind of make a little hook at the end of it. That gives a kind of a cute little beauty to it. Now I'm going to make those hockey stick kind of shapes, which is going to give me a little room here for shading this gap. Okay. So I start and I go like this. Okay. And I go down and touch this and I go. So we're going to give these also an outline. I'm almost touching the boundary. For inking, I can use a pen, a CD writer pen, which may be a little bolder. You can make variations. There is no rule that you have to do it exactly the same way. So I've completed this, but I'm also still going to give a little outline, as I said. So let me just go ahead and do the outline. So please remember to speed up or to pause and watch and play it, but it's the same. So if you've watched me do one of the three, then as I'm doing this, you can just do the other, you do yours. And if you feel I have sped up, you can just pause over there and then continue. So now I'm going to do, we've done the first one and the second one. So now we're going to do the third one, which is rather simple. They're just little hockey sticks or little stalks like this. So I can do them independently, or I can link them to the previous line. It's that little curve or that little hook that you're going to give, which is going to make it look a little cute. So that's again up to you how you want it to. Right? So here again, making a few of these. You can see it. I'm going to connect it actually. So I don't have to do too many lines. Got the second set in here. I'm going to go into the third set over here. That's the outline actually. And I give this again an outline. It rained very heavily today. We've had more than 25 centimeters of rain in a few hours in one day. All right, so now I have some space over here and I want to deal with this space. Okay, so I'm going to make a few changes here and there with the, from the basic drawing that I have made. I wanted to have a few kind of patterns here and there. And I'm going to erase the pencil lines after I finish this. I can do these also with colored pens, but since I'm going to use a brush pen at the end of this, I'm not really looking for too much of color. Okay, so now I think I have these. I'm going to add a few spirals, some bubbles, or some little patterns around this space that I have. I haven't really done the outline because I want to try something over here. I'm going to make it look like it's underneath, and therefore, I'm not completing the patterns. Now here again, I'm going to continue with maybe a few of these, just through the space over here. Then I can go about giving it a little outline, like a leaf. So I'm just playing about it. Oh, I think there's a lot of background noise. I can help it. Sorry. So I made some kind of a pattern there. Now I have some space in between, which I want to change the pens. Do that. I'm going to take my red pen because I haven't used it so far. I'm going to create this circle, but I'm going to kind of slightly twist it. It's like a candy pop. I'm just going to have a couple of these. Because you can increase it. What happens is then you got to deal with that space in a different way. I'm imagining the center to be in the center of this, but this circle to be under this one. So I do the uppermost one first, and then I do the remaining after. I have two colors. Now I wanted to ink a few of these things where I wanted to ink these, these edges, these things. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly ink them before I begin erasing the pencil lines and doing other inking brings a lot of accent to your drawing. Now I remember I told you we want to also ink this inner space. So I'm inking this inner space. Feel free to make your own new things, new changes. It doesn't have to be like this. It can be different. Rather, each one has to have its own differences. Good. And I always say the advantage of watching a demonstration is that you begin to dare to make mistakes. If you realize that it's through a sort of a playful attitude or an experimental approach to things that you stumble upon, arrive at happy accidents and get a lot of new insights, new chance experiences, chance things that happen on your canvas, on your paper, and they turn out to be really original. So feel free to experiment. And you never make mistakes when you do Zentangler. You just have happy little accidents. And you can take advantage of them always. Okay, so I think I've done that inking portion. Maybe I want to ink this too. Just make it look a little to divide the accent. Again, when you're doing the inking, it depends on how you want to do it. You might want to do the outline like this inside and then do the fill. You do it at a time when you really like to do your inking. If you make mistakes, you always have the gel pen, the white jelly roll, with which you can make your corrections. It's just called the jelly roll. Or gives you permission to make mistakes. When I do a demo, my hand comes right in the way, but it is my hand that helps make the patterns. I think that should be enough. The inking part of it. Remember, I'm not doing the entire part of it. I'm just doing the end when there's a thin stalk, and that gives it a good appearance. I think I can go ahead and erase any pencil lines that I have here. Oh, and then they're also getting this. It's so much lighter. Oops. It's so lighter. Okay, so I learned a lesson that I should have. I'm using a different paper here. Paper is actually very. It's a wedding invitation card. The paper is very great. Got a gloss. It's got a shine. Maybe that's not helpful. Maybe I need a little more time. Let the paper dry. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to have little bubbles over here. And the bubbles shouldn't be evenly placed and evenly sized. Should not be. You vary them, okay? Now, I did not want to have a straight kind of an outline. I wanted to leave an implied outline, but That's to show I didn't forget to do that part. Okay. I'm going to use my brush pen. Colors. Okay, let me just pause it. I have color, a marker pen, and it's kind of very just a yellow marker pen. And I'm going to use it here outside. Outside this. Making it look very dark, but this is another one. This is very different from the one I made earlier today. I love the way this marker pen is working on this particular paper. It feels very good. I have a gray marker pen. As I said, I'm going to use some color pencils. I said I'm going to use color pencils earlier, but now I seem to be more for marker pen. Okay, I'm just going to do gray marker in the gaps. Oops. These are called Copic marker pens. Copic. We use them for product design drawings. This is a preliminary to start showing the depth. So what if I take the colors now that I promised you? I'm going to use a kind of a brown, sharp, sharpen it. When you sharpen it, you just sharpen it. Carefully remove all this. And a little brown in the gaps. I'm going to use a brush pen. Right. This area is intended to appear deeper. Deepest. And now these little mushroom-like things, I want them to appear layered too. So the one that is full is going to be the one that's on top, and therefore the ones underneath will be shaded. The one on top is going to be light, except it's going to be shaded this part. Okay, so where it touches or where it seems to go under a particular layer. Just this much will do. Let me try a little orange to make this part a little warmer. When you add yellow, orange, red, the area appears a little warmer in temperature. Colors have temperatures. Now over here, warm. Go back to little brown. Give depth, a little more darkness, but the color is not actually entering the paper. So I'm going to stop here probably and go with the brush pen. And please, I'm just thinking of what to do as I proceed. I don't have premeditated ideas of how I'm going to be painting it or nothing of that sort. This paper is not soaking in the paint. It's just sitting on top of the paper itself. Therefore, I'm pushing the paint about a little bit, the paint from the color pencil. You're going to practice a little bit to avoid those line-like effects and get a more of a uniform tone or wash-like effect. Just a little bit of practice will help you. It's a practice, or it's a wet on wet kind of a technique where you work when it is still wet. You don't allow the paint to dry really on the paper. So as you quickly agitate the area with your brush wherever it is wet, and you just sort of even it out, it appears even. So got a kind of a little feature there. Another thing is when I want to do an area which I want it to appear darker, I start from the lighter side and then go to the dark. Because if I drag from the dark to the lighter area, I won't be able to control it. Actually, the red of the red pen is also flowing. So now I think you can see that it's giving a little more depth over there. I can use a pencil over where I have shaded and used the brush. And if I do that, let me see, it's going to just become a little darker. Happy accidents are happening. And I'm happy to have happy accidents. I could choose to have some color over here. I thought maybe I will try some gray, but maybe I will use a blue and a green to arrive at a gray, but I'm going to do only on one side of the leaf. Let's see, I'm just rubbing a little bit of blue and a little bit of green there. It's hardly showing, but let's see. I'm going to put the brush pen to it. And when I use the brush pen, I just squeeze out a little bit like water of right cloth. Because it's a watercolor pencil, it's a very light, beautiful. I don't know if you can see it in the video. Actually, I get a very beautiful light green. You see? So I'm still going to use a little yellow or orange of some sort. So I'm actually, I have an old pancake watercolor set. So I'm just taking my brush and saturating a little bit. I'm going to try it out on a plain piece of paper. It seems okay. I got an orange, sort of an orange. So yellow orange for this. I'm going to do it more towards the center part of it. I'm mixing a little bit of my red and my yellow together. I could use my color pencil, but right now I'm not doing that. So right now my orange is getting a little bright. There's enough on my brush to just work on one entire part of it. I've actually done so much. Now I want it to look soft over there, this edge of it. It looks painted. I want it to look shaded. So I'll just squeeze out the paint that is sticking onto the brush, so it gets kind of automatically washed. Okay, I hope you can see that my brush is getting washed. And now I'm going to use this cleaner brush to do the soft shape. This is what I wanted to show you. You can actually do a very soft shading. I can hold it close and show. There might be a glare. Okay, I hope you realize that now it's a soft shade. Come on this side. And these brush pens are so beautiful. They just hold all the water that you want for brush for the drawing. That's of course over, but you know exactly how much water is left. Right now I have so much water. So I'm doing the orange. I could do some other color over there. I started, so orange is fine. I could make it much, I could have made it a much lighter color. I didn't know it's going to be so visible. When I started it off. So since I have so much color and I've told you what to do, I'm just going to do this also. Wash my brush. a little bit. You know now what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to soft shade this portion. If you feel I'm doing it fast, please slow down. If you feel I'm doing it very slow, please speed up the video. I take a yellow, yellowish orange. Don't get scared of the way I handle my things. And I could do this inner part. I want to do this part right here. Dash. Yes, you should never be afraid of trying, of experimenting. Just go ahead. Just have fun. Actually, I'm going to try a little. Again, it was not at all there on the cards. I never planned it. I am going to use a different brush because I've run out of water in this pen. This brush pen, I've run out of water. I'm going to take another new pen. It comes in a set of 3. You know, these brush pens, they come as a set of 3. I can probably give you the link of these brush pens where I bought them, and you can buy them too. So I'm using a little blue, a little light blue, a little dark blue. So I get a kind of middle blue in between them. And I'm just touching up this extreme end of the leaf because I feel it's just a little too white. And add a dash of violet just to make the color a little different. Try it out. That seems to look okay. And I'm going to paint in this area. I'm going to take it into this part. Not much, just a little bit. Just again, the purpose is to give it a little bit of depth. So I will do a backward push from the dry area, from the white area towards this point, and the color kind of pools over here where I want it a little darker. Okay, pools there, and then it dries up, so the color gets a little darker at this point, So how does it look so far? Now I have made a warm brown for this area. So what do you mean by warm brown? Warm brown is just this brown. It's a burnt sienna kind of brown. Use brown very carefully, very less sort of think where you want to use brown. Since I'm saying warm, I'm just touching a little bit of reds. And look at this part, it's so messy because I usually mix this and mix it here and try it out. Try out the colors. I'm trying it out roughly, and I think I've got the brown I want. I want one of these to appear deeper than the other. So I'm just going to give it. And also this because I want this to look like it's underneath this. Also, I can darken this portion. These are those little nuances which ultimately give very good effect. Overall effect when you look at something. Wow, that's because you've taken care to do the finer details. Generally, people don't bother that. Now I want to make it a little darker, so when you hear this noise, you know that I'm taking color from here and there. This portion. Now this looks too white, so I'm just going to make it a mild pink. So I have pink over here. Again, put that reddish brush into that. Start from here. Make sure that color is light, not over dark. And then I'm going to just draw in. Otherwise, if it's too white, again, it's not going to allow this one to dominate. Wherever it is white, that area dominates, sort of gets your attention. I do this. I just clean the brush. The flat. So I'm actually sucking up paint from the area, from the paper, and I'm taking out paint. I'm taking it out very carefully, very light. And this technique of wet on wet, when you do it when the paint is still not completely dry, you achieve your effect, the effect that you want. It's kind of toned down, it's not too dark, it's not too dark. Okay, so I think I'm getting what I wanted. Now let me see if I can run my pencil, get a few marks over this. But it's not really sharp. But I can't use a red pen because then that will become too bright. That's not what I want. So I have some kind of an underline pattern. Maybe I should use a marker pen. I'm looking for my marker pen, otherwise I'm going to use one of these gel pen, glitter pen. Maybe a pink pen. Let's try this. I just realized this was too white, so I'm just toning it down very lightly so it doesn't dominate. It allows only this to dominate. Now I do need to do the inner shading part of it. A little pearl. I take a lighter color, apply it, and I take a darker color and I go over the edge. I try to leave the highlight area without doing anything to it. And I could use a fine pencil, do a bit of shading on this, or a brown pencil, some bit of color. When your paper is still wet, your watercolor pencil will just stick on to the wet area, to the paper, the grain of the paper, and give you some darker color. So if you want to do it, otherwise be careful. You've been wondering if it was calling you work. It happens to everyone. So I'm looking for this really lighter pen and see what happens if I just put some lines. This is kind of a glitter pen, so I think I can get the effect I want. Something to say that there's something happening underneath, that's all. You could fill this with some interesting pattern if you wanted. It doesn't have to be like plain and dull. Now again, when I find I want to give a little depth over here, deeper effect over here. Okay? So when I run my pencil, it's not completely dry, this paper area. So either you should wait for the paper to dry completely, or you should handle it properly with your watercolor brush, or you could use a marker pen in this area. Try it out yourselves. Don't be scared. Is that it? Is that it? That it? With color pencils, it's totally different feel. But this particular paper was I told you, it was a wedding invitation card, and it had a slight gloss in it. So it wasn't receiving the pencil color pencils. And therefore I decided to use wash on this. But this has also helped me show you how to do the watercolor wash technique. So I thought it should be. I want a little darker effect in here. So once again, You think I'm crazy. Once again, I'm going with a shade. Though I'm rubbing so much, nothing is really coming out. It's very light. Okay. So I'm just taking a little darker shade of this pink, sort of a violet, and putting it in here to show the vitamin mushrooms or whatever they are. You could make this area much darker. You could even make it black if you wanted. You really want it that way. I think I'm done. I'm getting lines here, so I'm just blending that out. Oh, my water is over. Water in the brush pen is over. I'm going to take another. Okay. So how does it feel, guys? Actually, the entire I think I could make some of these things a little darker. I could go on, but I should just stop somewhere. Okay, so yeah, I should color. I could do this to these little things. By giving a little darker shade over here, I can deeper effect. Good. And it closes in the entire picture. Gives a finality. So if you try to follow me with this and with some color pencils and with with a brush pen and all that, you will feel a lot more confident in handling coloring mediums. I think. Okay, so all this, I think that I should stop here. I could go on, but let's just stop somewhere. I would like to put my signature and complete it. So where and how, my signature. Is 30th of December. 2022. I have to go on. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.